Alrighty, everybody. This is another edition of the web news, and we want to discuss digital ownership because it is a hot button issue. We've had the whole PlayStation 5 no longer making discs in 2028 situation, so physical games kind of being threatened. There's been some rumors, at least at this point, regarding some some disc to digital conversion stuff on Microsoft's side that is currently still rumor, but it seems like news is going to break any day. So by the time you listen to this, you might be like, Matt, we have all the news on that. But at this current point, we do not. But I wanted to look at an article that I've recently found here. I found it on Windows Central, and it is Xbox fan successfully sues Microsoft for blocking his entire digital games library in what could be a huge win for the consumer. Brazilian Xbox player Ordo Liberal, that's the username, recently won a court case against Microsoft, proving you can fight for the right to preserve digital ownership of your games and win. So unfortunately, this guy here, Ordo Libro, he found out that his Microsoft account was hacked, and then of course it was promptly suspended. But unfortunately, the Microsoft IT team determined that it was unrecoverable by policy due to the account security details being changed by the hacker. And this is not the first time that Windows Central has actually seen this. So, of course, he's going to lose access to all of his Xbox games, but this is not an Xbox account. This is a Microsoft account. So, as a result of being blocked, Ordo Libero not only lost his Xbox games, but also all of these access to his OneDrive files. And remember, because this is a Microsoft account, you can have other things in here as well. You could have your Microsoft 365 subscription attached to this. Now, can you spin up another Microsoft account and buy another subscription for that? Certainly. But that's an inconvenience. But the OneDrive files being missing, that's serious stuff, especially since if the person is a content creator, I'm not saying that Ordo Libero is, but if this person's a content creator and they store all their stuff on there, what's going to happen there? What if they're in school and they stored crucial projects? What if they're at work and they stored crucial projects on there? Whether or not you trust OneDrive or not to store kind of really critical data like that. I know some people will, some people will not. The point of the matter is this wasn't, the hacker going in and stealing the OneDrive files. This is the hacker going in, changing the account details. And now because of policy, Microsoft's like, nope, that's it. Sorry, you can't have access to that anymore because you're effectively renting the space. And so what happened here? So, and he was enraged that Microsoft took away his game library and insisted that Microsoft insisted that he buy those games again. Ordo Libero then sued Microsoft in a digital library lawsuit. The court case dragged on until July 12th, 2026, when Ordo Libero announced on Reddit that he had actually won. According to, and these are translated comments, the Brazilian court ruled in favor of Ordo Libero under Brazil's strict consumer laws and has ordered Microsoft to completely restore Ordo Libero's account, giving him his entire Xbox digital games library back, and to pay him $400 in damages. So this is sort of a win in terms of what we're buying digitally. Because here's the thing. When you buy something digitally, many people don't really care because many people will sort of consume games. They'll buy a game, they'll play it to completion once or twice, they'll be done with it, and they will never return. Or maybe they'll return years later when a remaster comes out. But they will never return to that original thing that they purchased. But there are also many people who constantly go back through. I watch a fair bit of content creators. They will talk about how they do a yearly playthrough of their favorite Splinter Cell game or their favorite GTA or their favorite whatever, enter in game here. And they do a yearly playthrough of that. Or they'll go back and revisit things for nostalgia's sake here and there. They'll watch a trailer, something will remind them of their favorite childhood game, and they'll go back. When you buy something digitally, it's in control of the store. Like the store itself has control. They can just say, sorry, this is now no longer available for download. And okay, great. And in this case, it was like, hey man, sorry, your whole account's gone, including all your games. It's not like there was a solution that was offered, as far as we know, according to this article. There was no solution offered that was like, hey man, that really sucks. Can we, make you a new account and give you back your games? There was no sort of like middle ground that was offered. So there's been like a fair bit of conversation here, because digital preservation of games has, of course, been quite a hot topic. It says so right in this article here, following Sony's sort of physical media culling, if you will, where they're like, hey, we're done with physical games. But this is interesting because what this has done is this is a digital ownership conversation, but it also has kind of translated into a digital preservation thing as well. Where even though this guy lost his entire account, in the case of, let's say, I buy 5 games, 10, 15 years go by, and I'm talking digital games, 10, 15 years go by. Is it possible that maybe my account's still good, but they take away one, two, or three out of those 5 games? Oh, sorry, these are delisted. You can no longer get them, and you can no longer download them, even though you purchased them. Would a court case win like this actually make a bit of a difference? I don't know if that's the case, but I think it is a step in that direction, and I personally think that that's stepping in the right direction.
I think you're probably right that it is a step in the direction, but I think that is a pretty small step. Because from my understanding of this, and this could be very surface level, so take it with a grain of salt. This was his Microsoft account being banned for an unrelated reason to gaming, obviously, and that froze his entire game library. That falls a little bit out of the terms of service, right? So that's why the court case had a good shot at winning, and they did win. Whereas if, let's say, the situation happened, as you said, like just 15 years down the line, a couple of those games are gone. As far as I understand it, when you buy a digital game from a digital store, there is a terms of service that allows them to do that. So you're kind of agreeing to it. Now,
Yeah, you're buying a license. You're buying a license, and the
correct.
license has all these terms and things inside of it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So like that in itself is actually not like enough to guard the company. Like Microsoft, like terms of services have notoriously been, battled in court because they're just so lengthy and so ineligible. Like they're so impossible to read that you can like almost use that as a defense that you didn't read it. But the precedent would be very difficult to establish, like because this is a license and not a product. Like you're not even buying the digital rights to that game; you're buying a license to those rights. Um, yeah, it just I don't think it's going to solve that. What I think has to solve it is competition in the space. GOG being the top one, right? Like that one, you're buying the game and you're owning the installer for that game. Like their whole shtick is like you can buy it, download the installer, and you'll never lose it, right? Like you could put it on your own physical media and it's yours. That
Yeah,
is your game now.
GOG games, that's GOG,
GOG,
are
yeah, yeah.
they are DRM free.
Correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that competition, like the competition in the space, pushing the other ones to maybe put that option out there is going to be our best bet. Legislation might help as well, like you're saying. I think a win like this, maybe the only thing that it does is like it bubbles it up to the top, and maybe that the next win might be like another step, like you're saying, like a small step and a small step until
Well,
we
here's
have.
here's the thing though. Brazil has strict like consumer laws, and this already
Mhm.
kind of fell within it, which is interesting,
Which
right?
is good. Yeah, that is a good thing for on the Brazil side of things. I don't know if it'll fully benefit us. Sometimes does, um, but like, yeah, I don't know. I my biggest concern with all this personally is that I have so many of these subscriptions that if I were to lose one, like for example, my Google subscription, my whole life runs through my Google account, right? Like my main Gmail is the thing that connects everything together. If I were to be banned from that, I would lose access to so many things that my life, like my digital life at least, would have to pretty much restart. That's my biggest concern. The fact that they do ban accounts, right? And sometimes they ban accounts for no reason other than like a mistake on their end. Sometimes they ban accounts for good reason, obviously. And there's a very little that the general public can do about that because, a lot of times you'll go through an appeals process and they'll just be like, nope. Um, that's a big concern for me because there's also many other accounts like that. Like if there's another, my password manager for whatever reason would ban my account, like 1Pass. Uh, there's so many little things that I'm kind of relying on a third party to maintain access to. Banks are usually pretty good, but like there's these digital banks out there like that handle payroll and stuff, Revolut and Gusto and Wise, like those guys. They've been known, PayPal as well, to freeze accounts, right? Like for whatever reason, like they see one bad transaction, they see a weird I've heard of like if the person has some sort of court case in a different country or something. Anyway, there's like millions of reasons that they could freeze your money, for especially business accounts, and then you're screwed. Again, you're relying on this digital third party for a very substantial part of your life, your
Yep.
income, and your best bet is to just kind of appeal and hope for the best. That's where a lot of stuff is going right now, and the lack of guardrails put in place, for a lack of a better word, against it is scary to me. Digital games, like Steam is a concern to me, actually. I know people like laud Steam as like the good one in the space. Steam
For
games, like
now.
that's the problem. That's my worry. What happens when gay Ben passes? We don't
Well,
know.
and not even necessarily that. Like that would suck certainly, but what if like Steam starts doing poorly? What if someone does come in to
Yeah.
the digital game store front on PC, offers just amazing competition and starts taking that market share away from Steam? Steam's going to have to start doing something. What is that thing?
That's that, and that's a huge concern because like my entire digital game library is on there, and there's no guarantee that it'll be there in 5, 10 years or 20
Yeah.
years, whatever. There is no guarantee, and there's no way to download those games locally. So honestly, I'm almost like starting to go the route of just promoting GOG gaming as much as possible to get them to hopefully be a disruptor. Now that's a very small percentage chance, um, because people will still use all these other things. But I want more. Like I wish Steam would do what GOG Gaming did. I want them to put enough pressure on for Steam to accept it and be like, okay, you know what? Even if it's just like for these games that don't have de novo whatever DRM protection, you are able to download these games locally and you can keep them forever. That would be amazing. That would be a huge win in my eyes. That would be the thing that kind of beats this stuff. And then maybe Microsoft gets pressure to do that. Maybe, even if the disk drive goes away, let's say that that's the case, maybe it's hard drives that you're able to like download your games onto and keep them forever, right? Like there's ways around the disk drive situation that if legislation comes through or if enough competition comes through, I think it is solvable. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be enough pressure on these big guys to make them move.
Well, the one thing tier two, like it's mentioned extremely briefly in the article here, but it does say that the European Union is also taking a more aggressive stance on digital preservation. So you did mention legislation, like that would be an
Yeah.
example of that. Of course, we are starting to see that. I mean, the EU just did that whole removable battery thing, where like most devices, there are some exceptions, need to have removable batteries, and you're seeing companies like Nintendo having to have switches with removable batteries, for example.
Hmm.
So like that's kind of interesting. USB-C on iPhones, for example, that was
Yep.
largely pioneered by the EU, although it kind of seemed like the tech industry was going that way, but who knows what Apple wanted to do, right? Whether they wanted a proprietary port or whomever, because I kept hearing they did, they didn't, they did. So who knows? I don't really care.
Yep.
Like we've reached USB-C. Like however we got there, I think that's sort of the future. That's sort of the way we're going to handle it. And then I'm sure another port will come out eventually. That'll be better, but we'll see.
Yep.
The thing here is though um, what's interesting is like when things are banned, there's a bunch of ways things can get banned. When it comes to gaming accounts, I always think it's the social aspect where somebody says something inappropriate in like a PlayStation chat and then they get banned, they lose access to the library and things. And I understand that that's within the terms of service or however it's worded. I almost wonder if this type of issue that just happened here, and yes, I understand the whole account got, it got suspended like indefinitely, effectively. One thing I kind of wonder is whether we're going to have to silo the enforcement of things. So it'll be something like, if somebody does do something inappropriate on PlayStation, why are they being banned? Well, you're trying to keep the community safe, or you're trying to keep the community from having someone, yell a bunch of like crypto scams over PlayStation chat or whatever that is they're doing. Okay, so ban them from just PlayStation chat and they're still able to access their games. I kind of wonder if we're going to start seeing that, where we start seeing the siloing of things, and things like that, and or like you're saying, Mike, where they're going to be given access to like a special portal where they can just download their products. Like, here's the thing. Maybe they're banned from PlayStation Network and they can't play online. They should still, I think you should still be allowed to download those online games. Even though
Me
those
too.
games are 100% worthless to you, you can't use them. I think you should, like, technically you bought that. Technically you bought those files. You should be able to download them. But unfortunately, like, the PlayStation Network, the social aspects, you might get banned from. And I do understand, like, some bans. But I think it's too much of a blanket. We have, like, blanket accounts, like Microsoft accounts, like PlayStation accounts, things like that, for simplicity. But under the hood, I think maybe we need to start siloing them a little bit, and that would help this to an extent. And that's just where I land. I think that game preservation is important. Allowing people to access the things that they purchased is important. And I think we need to start looking at digital ownership being beyond just a license. Because what people are really saying now is, you're more or less just renting it. And that has really affected me. I used to kind of go crazy when games went on sale, summer sales and things, because I was like, oh, I'll get to that this year. So I'll buy it because it's like so cheap. I still do it a little bit, but I actually take pause and think, this is actually just kind of a rental. I'm kind of buying like an indefinite rental.
I'm
I
in
don't
the
know
same
about
boat as
that.
you. I'm in the same boat. I pretty much stopped buying games for the future because I don't know if they'll be around when I want
Yeah.
to play them. Like
Yeah.
I have a weird vision of myself like in a retirement home being able to play all these games, but what's the guarantee that Steam is even around at that point? None. I
Yeah.
still like you said, I still will make the exception. Like I bought the Mass Effect Legendary Edition or whatever it's called for like $5 or whatever. Like that was just seemed like a great deal, and I'll play that at some point in my life if it's still around. But that was the only game that I bought for the future in the last like long time.
Yeah. I mean, even me, like I bought 2 games. One of them I wanted to specifically support like over the Steam Summer Sale I'm talking.
Mhm.
One of them I specifically wanted to support the developer. And yes, you can make the argument I should have bought a full price, this and that. Hey, I was bargain hunting. I found a bargain. I was like, I like this dev. I'm going to buy this. And then also I bought like one other game that I am like literally, it's an early access game that's about to come out, and that's when I'm going to play it. So like, okay,
Okay.
I may as
It's
well
not
get
for
it
the
on
future.
sale.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the release, which is in September or something like that. So, soon enough, more or less. But I'm starting to make decisions with like the real world ownership consequences or the real world ownership realities, I suppose, in mind. But anyway, I think that's the web news for this week. Let us know what you think about the whole game preservation, the digital ownership conversation, the whole license thing where you're kind of like making an indefinite rental, so to speak, in some cases. What do you think about all this? And what do you think about this court case? Is it good, bad, etc.? I'm sure this will, kind of drum up some comments, and I'd love to read them. Love to have a bit of discourse and conversation, as we've been having a ton of conversations over the PlayStation 5 disc conversation. I've been getting a ton of comments and replying to a ton of them. Not all of them, of course, but getting to as many as I can. And that's it. That's the web news for this week. We'll see you later.
Bye.